So, I can identify a lot with this kind of man that you're describing in the book, this eternal child man. Are we talking about a specific kind of male journey? I guess in extremes we are. Is there a more generalized way in which it's kind of true of most men or not?
Well, I think there's the understanding that the first love of our lives is mother, for all intents and purposes. And so we grow up idealizing that relationship to some extent, unless it's so horrific that we look to some other object to project that ideal onto. But certainly in adolescence, it's normal to have that idealization. But then, I've had patients that have told me about that once the ideal is broken, like they've kissed or she's done something that's broken the spell, then in the narcissistic male, it's not a journey as much as kind of a repetition compulsion, where that girl or woman becomes devalued, becomes imperfect, no longer the ideal, the idyllic one. And so you go on to the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. And then you learn to just be sexual, just the lust, and to have those types of women. You keep them there in that place, and then you can idealize the wife or the mother, what have you. But there's no kind of integrating process of finding the both in one person. It's like learning to accept the limitations. Again, I'm going to run back to Lacan for a moment here, and he has a lovely concept, and other people have talked about it in different ways, and Jung talked about it in different ways still, but he talks about das Ding, which means the thing, and he describes it as some kind of fragment of some sort of remainder in the primal unconscious that can never be known, that we're always longing for, we're always longing to realize, whether it's in love or it's in art or it's in religion or what have you, but it always remains behind it. In some ways you can think of it as this maternal container, this idealized fantasy that we have no way of knowing, but it's a fantasy because we're too young to conceptualize it, that we keep longing to realize, but we could never quite find it. It just, that lack, that basic lack is always with us, that we're always longing to find and never fulfill. And on a basic level, it's what perhaps drives artists to create, or those of us who have a mystical bent to seek and to search for that mystical oneness that can never quite be found, where it's there, we touch it, and then it flitters away. We only get a glimpse. We can only see a glimpse. And in a sense that if we can accept that limitation as human beings, that we'll never know. There's always a level of uncertainty in life. We can accept limitations, the profound humanness, brokenness in our human being. We can learn to accept the limitations in the human other, along with the moments, the glimpses of brilliance and beauty. So it really, the relationships are not about oneness. Those are just fragmentary moments in time. Mm-hmm. It's really about accepting our sense of two-ness. Because otherwise, a person with a narcissistic predisposition, the moment that one starts to feel that oneness, they start to feel dependency, they start to feel vulnerability. And a vulnerability has translated in the past to being hurt or harmed or fragmented in some kind of way, or controlled or entrapped, the terror of those things, then they're going to destroy that relationship and move away, either through some kind of narcissistic wounding of the other person, or withdrawal, deadness, turning away. But if one can accept through the process of kind of developing one's own sense of themselves, of their own limitations, their own capacity to tolerate vulnerability and dependency as an aspect of intimacy, and that recognizes that other isn't looking to entrap you, vice versa. You're not looking to try to control the other, but they're whole unto themselves, and I'm whole unto myself, and I'm not needing them to fill me or to control me. Then intimacy can come through dependency, and vulnerabilities are natural things, because it's about two-ness, not about oneness.